In the mid-1990s, psychologist and science journalist Daniel Goleman introduced a revolutionary concept that would transform how we understand human intelligence and success. His groundbreaking work challenged the traditional emphasis on intellectual intelligence and revealed the crucial role that emotional intelligence plays in our personal and professional lives. This exploration of emotional intelligence draws from extensive research in psychology and neuroscience, offering practical insights into how we can better understand and manage our emotional lives. Chapter: Emotional Intelligence. Emotional intelligence represents a fundamental shift in how we view human capability and potential. For centuries, society has placed enormous emphasis on rational thinking, intellectual achievement, and the development of what we call IQ. We have celebrated the logical mind while often dismissing or minimizing the role of emotions in decision-making and success. However, modern psychology reveals a more complete picture of human intelligence, one that recognizes we essentially operate with two distinct but interconnected mental systems. The rational mind that thinks and analyzes, and the emotional mind that feels and responds. Emotional intelligence specifically focuses on our ability to understand, process, and effectively manage our emotional experiences. It encompasses how we recognize our feelings, how we respond to challenging situations, and how we navigate the complex emotional landscape of human relationships. This form of intelligence is deeply connected to our personality and influences every aspect of our behavior, particularly when we encounter difficult emotions such as sadness, anger, frustration, or disappointment. At its core, every emotion functions as an impulse, an immediate call to action that can drive our behavior. In the natural world, animals and very young children respond directly to these emotional impulses without filter or consideration. However, as civilized adults, we learn to moderate, hide, or redirect our emotional responses according to social expectations and personal goals. The key insight of emotional intelligence is that true emotional maturity does not involve suppressing or denying our feelings, nor does it mean pretending these emotions do not exist. Instead, emotional intelligence involves developing the wisdom and skills to manage our emotions consciously and deliberately. Rather than being controlled by our emotional impulses, we learn to pause, reflect, and choose our responses thoughtfully. This emotional self-control forms the foundation of emotional intelligence and proves essential for building successful careers, maintaining healthy relationships, and creating a fulfilling personal life. When we lack this emotional control, we become victims of our own feelings, reacting impulsively and often in ways that undermine our goals and relationships. Emotional intelligence also connects to deeper philosophical questions about what it means to be truly human. Unlike animals that operate primarily on instinct, humans have the capacity to act with conscious intention, wisdom, and compassion. This includes developing compassion both for ourselves and for others around us. Since we are inherently social beings who depend on relationships and community for our well-being, emotional intelligence provides us with essential tools for building and maintaining these connections throughout our lives. Chapter: Self-awareness. Self-awareness stands as one of the most fundamental pillars of emotional intelligence. This crucial skill involves developing the ability to recognize, understand, and remain attentive to our emotional states as they occur. Self-awareness requires us to step back from our immediate experience and observe our feelings with clarity and objectivity, creating space between ourselves and our emotions so we can respond rather than simply react. Goleman identifies several distinct styles that people use when responding to their emotions. The first style, self-awareness, characterizes individuals who maintain clear perception of their emotional states. These self-aware people understand their feelings, recognize their emotional patterns, and know their personal limits and capabilities. As a result, they tend to be healthier, more optimistic, and more emotionally stable than those who lack this awareness. The second style involves people who become completely immersed or absorbed in their emotions. These individuals feel overwhelmed by their feelings and believe they cannot escape or control their emotional experiences. They allow their moods to dictate their behavior and decision-making, often leading to instability, confusion, and a sense of being out of control. Whether experiencing positive or negative emotions, these people lose their sense of agency and become prisoners of their emotional states. The third style describes resigned individuals who can recognize that emotions influence their behavior but feel powerless to change their emotional patterns. These people fall into two categories: those who generally maintain good moods and therefore see no need to develop emotional skills, and those who frequently experience negative emotional states but have given up on the possibility of improvement. The second group often struggles with chronic depression or persistent negative thinking patterns. Developing self-awareness requires consistent practice and honest self-reflection. It involves learning to notice our emotional responses as they arise, understanding what triggers these responses, and recognizing how our emotions influence our thoughts and behaviors. This awareness creates the foundation for all other aspects of emotional intelligence. Chapter: Temperance. The concept of temperance, or the ability to moderate our emotional responses and avoid extremes, has been recognized as a virtue since ancient Greek philosophy. In the context of emotional intelligence, temperance refers to achieving emotional balance and maintaining appropriate emotional responses to life's challenges and opportunities. People with well-developed emotional intelligence experience the full range of human emotions, including passion, excitement, love, and enthusiasm. However, they experience these emotions in appropriate measure and duration. They understand that while intense emotions are natural and sometimes necessary, prolonged exposure to overwhelming feelings can leave us unstable, vulnerable, and confused. Temperance does not mean eliminating intense emotions from our lives. Occasional experiences of deep sadness, anger, or frustration are normal and healthy parts of human existence. The problem arises when these intense emotions persist beyond reasonable limits or occur so frequently that they dominate our emotional landscape. People with emotional intelligence master the skill of maintaining inner calm and stability, not by avoiding difficult emotions, but by consciously choosing how long to experience them and how much influence to allow them in their lives. Anger presents particular challenges for emotional regulation because, unlike sadness or fear, anger often feels energizing and empowering. This energy can make anger addictive and difficult to release. However, several practical strategies can help manage even intense anger. Deep breathing exercises help activate the body's relaxation response. Engaging in distracting activities or finding ways to experience joy can shift our emotional state. Physical exercise, such as taking a walk, provides a healthy outlet for the energy that anger creates while allowing time for the intensity to naturally decrease. Chapter: Optimism. Optimism represents a fundamental attitude toward life that involves expecting positive outcomes despite the inevitable challenges, setbacks, and obstacles we all face. Like hope, optimism functions as a protective psychological resource that helps shield us from despair, apathy, and depression during difficult times. However, effective optimism must be grounded in reality rather than wishful thinking or denial. Realistic optimism acknowledges that life contains genuine difficulties, failures, and disappointments while maintaining confidence in our ability to overcome challenges and achieve our goals. This balanced perspective helps us persist through setbacks without becoming overwhelmed by temporary failures or discouraged by obstacles. Success in any area of life depends on numerous variables, many of which lie beyond our direct control. Economic conditions, health issues, relationship dynamics, and countless other factors can influence our outcomes regardless of our efforts or intentions. Therefore, while optimism provides essential motivation and resilience, it must be paired with persistence and the ability to learn from failure. Goleman emphasizes that our capacity to withstand and recover from failures often determines our ultimate success more than our initial talents or advantages. People who can maintain optimistic perspectives while learning from setbacks develop the resilience necessary to pursue long-term goals despite short-term disappointments. Chapter: Empathy. Empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of others, represents another cornerstone of emotional intelligence. This crucial skill influences virtually every aspect of our lives, from family relationships to workplace interactions to our role as citizens in our communities. Empathy enables us to connect with others, build trust, and create the mutual understanding necessary for healthy relationships. Interestingly, empathy depends heavily on self-awareness. We must first understand our own emotional experiences before we can accurately recognize and interpret the emotions of others. This connection explains why people with low emotional intelligence often struggle with empathy, regardless of their intellectual capabilities. The absence of empathy characterizes many antisocial behaviors and criminal activities. Individuals who cannot understand or care about others' emotional experiences find it easier to cause harm or exploit others for personal gain. This lack of empathy appears particularly pronounced in the most serious criminals, including psychopaths and those who commit violent crimes. Human beings are fundamentally social creatures who depend on community and relationships for survival and well-being. Empathy provides the emotional foundation for these essential connections, helping us maintain good relationships while contributing to our own sense of purpose and satisfaction. Empathy begins developing very early in childhood. Young children naturally offer comfort to distressed peers, share toys, and show concern for others' well-being. This early capacity for empathy grows and develops throughout our lives, becoming more sophisticated and nuanced as we gain experience and emotional maturity. Importantly, empathy operates through multiple channels of communication. While verbal language plays a role, much empathetic understanding occurs through nonverbal cues such as facial expressions, tone of voice, body language, and other subtle signals that convey emotional information. Chapter 5 Skills of Emotional Intelligence. Emotional intelligence can be understood through 5 core competencies that can be developed and strengthened throughout our lives. The first skill involves knowing our own emotions through self-awareness. This means recognizing our feelings as they arise, understanding what triggers our emotional responses, and developing the ability to control our reactions. Self-awareness enables us to make better decisions, respond appropriately to situations, and maintain greater confidence in our abilities. The second skill focuses on managing our emotions effectively. This involves learning to handle difficult feelings, such as irritability, anxiety, sadness, and disappointment in healthy ways. People with strong emotional management skills recover more quickly from emotional upsets and experience less disruption from negative feelings than those who become overwhelmed by their emotions. The third skill involves self-motivation and the ability to direct our emotions toward achieving our goals. This requires developing emotional self-control to avoid impulsive decisions while channeling our feelings in productive directions. When we can harness our emotions to support our objectives, we become more effective in pursuing both personal and professional aspirations. The fourth skill is recognizing emotions in others through empathy. This capacity builds on our self-awareness and enables us to understand others' perspectives, needs, and feelings. Empathetic individuals tend to be better friends, colleagues, and citizens because they can respond appropriately to others' emotional needs. The fifth skill involves managing relationships and social interactions effectively. This complex ability requires understanding how to influence others' emotions positively while building trust, communication, and cooperation. Strong relationship skills include leadership abilities, social influence, and the capacity to resolve conflicts constructively. Chapter Self-science. Self-science represents an innovative educational approach that teaches emotional intelligence skills directly to students. This discipline addresses the emotional and social development that traditional education often overlooks while focusing primarily on academic subjects. Self-science programs aim to create emotionally literate young people who understand their feelings and can manage their emotional lives effectively. These programs could serve as powerful preventive measures against the rising rates of depression, anxiety, and other mental health challenges among children and adolescents. By teaching emotional skills early, schools could help students develop the resilience and emotional competence necessary for lifelong well-being. Self-science curricula teach students that they have choices in how they respond to emotions. Rather than being victims of their feelings, young people learn to recognize emotional triggers, understand their options, and make conscious decisions about their responses. This education helps prevent impulsive reactions and emotional outbursts while promoting thoughtful, intentional behavior. These programs address complex emotions like anger, helping students understand the underlying causes of their feelings while developing healthy coping strategies. Students learn to manage anxiety, stress, and sadness while taking responsibility for their decisions and developing empathy, self-awareness, and respect for differences. Emotional learning can be integrated with traditional academic subjects such as language, mathematics, and social studies. However, implementing these approaches requires training teachers and administrators to understand and support emotional development alongside academic achievement. Emotional intelligence develops throughout our entire lives, beginning with our earliest relationships with parents and caregivers, and continuing through our school experiences and beyond. The emotional patterns we learn can be modified and improved with conscious effort and practice. Understanding and controlling our emotions proves essential for human development and success in our increasingly complex world. Skills like empathy and self-awareness become more valuable each year as we navigate competitive environments while maintaining our humanity and compassion. By developing our emotional intelligence, we create richer, more fulfilling lives while contributing positively to our communities and relationships.